नमस्कार, एपीसेन्टरमा स्वागत छ। म समा थापा। नेपाल र अमेरिका बीच कूटनीतिक सम्बन्ध कायम भएको 7 दशकभन्दा बढी समय भइसकेको छ। अमेरिका नेपालका लागि ठूलो दात्री राष्ट्र पनि हो। भारत र चीनको विश्वमा प्रभाव द्रुत गतिमा बढ्दा एक सार्वभौम मुलुकमा का रूपमा नेपालका सम्भावना र जटिलता पृथक छन्। विश्वकै शक्तिशाली मुलुक संयुक्त राज्य अमेरिका नेपालको आर्थिक सामाजिक रूपान्तरणको बलियो वाहक पनि हो। तर यही बीचमा नेपाल अमेरिका बीचको सम्भावना र पारस्परिक हित उजागर गर्न अमेरिकाले भारतीय आँखाबाट देख्ने नेपाललाई मात्रै महत्त्व दिन्छ भन्ने पनि चरम गुनासो छ। भौगोलिक रूपमा विशिष्ट स्थानमा रहेको नेपाल जो एक सार्वभौम मुलुक हो, के उसलाई राष्ट्रिय हितका विषयमा स्वतन्त्र भएर निर्णय गर्ने छुट छ? किन नेपाल जस्ता मुलुकलाई कुनै एक मुलुकको पक्ष र विपक्षमा उभिनुपर्छ, वा यो गलत भाष्य हामी आफैले निर्माण गरेका हौं? नेपाल अमेरिका सम्बन्धका विभिन्न आयाम, दुई देश बीचका सम्भावित सहकार्य, साझेदारी र अपेक्षा लगायतका विषयमा कुराकानी गर्न आज हामीसँग हुनुहुन्छ नेपालका लागि नवनियुक्त अमेरिकी राजदूत डिन आर थम्पसन। योर एक्सलेन्सी, वेलकम टु एपिसेन्टर।
Namaste. Sama, thank you so much for having me. I'm very pleased to be here tonight. I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Same here, very delighted to welcome here. To begin with, how are you seeing your status as a new ambassador? What are you looking forward in your tenure as an ambassador in Nepal?
Yeah, as ambassador to Nepal, I'm very excited to be here right now. We're at an exciting period of Nepal's history. We're at an exciting period of America's history. We've just celebrated 75 years of Nepal-U.S. bilateral relations. So we're at a time where I think we can set the foundation for the next 75 to 100 years. Nepal is getting ready to elect a new government, so we'll see what the people of Nepal decide in a few weeks. And the U.S., of course, is involved in a number of important investment and other projects here, and we look forward to working on all those.
Have you ever traveled to Nepal in the past, and what are your experiences and impressions about the country?
Sure. I had the good fortune to come to Nepal about 28, 29 years ago. I was living in Bangladesh at the time. My wife and her mother and a few family members had come to visit, so we came to Kathmandu just for a long weekend, and we had a wonderful time just seeing the sights of the city, visiting some temples, Durbar Square, Tamil, and I think we got out of the city for an afternoon a little bit and saw the mountain ranges a bit. But all it did was really whet our appetite to come back someday. And so I was so excited when I had the opportunity to be nominated by the president to come and play this role at this time.
So in these 25 years, how have we changed as a nation? What was your impression?
Oh my goodness. I mean, the development, the level of everything that I've seen so far in Kathmandu is just very impressive, where Nepal has gone. And of course, you know, we're very excited to work with Nepal as it gets ready to graduate to middle income country status in 2026. We're seeing much stronger ties between our two countries, but also Nepal and the other countries of the region. And I have to say one thing, I've only been on the ground for 4 weeks today, actually, but you know, to see the resilience of Nepal coming out of 2015 and the earthquake and the tremendous challenges that whole period posed is very impressive. And so I look forward to learning even more as I get started.
We saw you joined a few Nepali cultural celebrations and experienced Nepali food and lifestyle. What's your impression?
Oh, well, first off, I got to recommend anybody who moves to Nepal should move at Tihar time, because it's just the city's beautiful, the lights are exciting, and we enjoyed moving around, seeing different facets of the city. The food has been wonderful. You know, I knew I was a Dal Bhat fan for a long time, but now I'm being introduced to momos and achar and all sorts of good stuff. So I can't wait to experience even more.
So you've been in U.S. diplomacy for more than 25 years. How do you see your role in the current context?
Well, I've had the privilege to serve as a chief of mission previously, but not as a Senate-confirmed ambassador. So to have this role now is a great honor, and I just look forward to doing everything I can with my wonderful mission, the U.S. Embassy and the staff that's here, to build on this exciting relationship right now. I mentioned before some of the things we're doing with the Millennium Challenge Corporation projects that we're getting ready to implement, with the recently signed USAID agreement, with our historical projects through the Peace Corps and all the volunteers that have been here. We have a wonderful people-to-people relationships, a growing government-to-government relationships, and we're doing a lot in the business realm as well. So I see my role quite expansively, and I'm looking forward to exploring all of these angles.
And you've already served as acting assistant secretary and principal deputy assistant secretary in the Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs, and oversaw U.S. policy and relations with the countries in this region. How do you evaluate the current geopolitical situation of the region? What is the American thinking on Nepal's relation with China and India?
Sure. Well, it's a dynamic region. I was privileged to lead U.S. policy on it for a couple of years, and it just cemented for me my fondness and excitement about the potential that we have throughout South Asia. But I think Nepal in particular, no question about it, it is in a geopolitically challenging place right between India and China. Look, I fully believe Nepal is destined to have good relations with its neighbors. I just think that we have a great opportunity to build on the partnership that we've had over the last 75 years and develop a stronger relationship with the United States of America as well. And so I'm very excited to watch how Nepal conducts its foreign policy, to learn more about its relationships both with India and with China. And to work with all of our colleagues in the diplomatic corps to see how we strengthen Nepal, its democracy, its business sector, all of those things going forward.
Talking about Nepal's geopolitical placement, the United States is often accused of looking into smaller South Asian countries like Nepal with the Indian lens. What do you have to say?
You know, I disagree with the premise, to be honest with you.
Why is this narrative so strong here in Nepal and other South Asian countries?
It's a good question, and I'll look forward to learning a bit more about how it is people interpret us and what we say and what we do. Look, there's no question about it. We have a wonderful relationship with India. We've built a strategic partnership over many, many years. And we work closely with India on many fronts that I think will benefit the world and the region in the years to come. At the same time, we have had a very close and growing relationship with Nepal. Nepal, on its own merits, on its own initiatives, has qualified for the MCC project, has qualified for the expansive USAID projects that we have, has shown itself to be a country where we want to bring our Development Finance Corporation and invest. All of those things are independent of Nepal's relationships with anyone else and completely a factor of our, confidence and belief that Nepal has a great future ahead of it in its own right. And so we want to build on the relationship between the two of us going forward.
But still there's a strong narrative that United States doesn't take Nepal as a different nation, sovereign nation. It needs an eye or a vision from Indian side. Why is that narrative so strong?
I can't explain that narrative to you because it doesn't fit in the, it doesn't fit the reality of U.S. policy, right? The reality of U.S. policy is that we want to see a strong Nepal that is able to exercise its sovereignty, that enjoys territorial integrity, that has the opportunity to build its democratic institutions, expand its economy, and really go on a path to prosperity that its people want to see for the nation and its future. I don't know if you saw some of my hearing before the U.S. Senate, but I talked a lot about this, about what it is we want to accomplish with Nepal in the years ahead. And so that's what I'm here to work on. I believe very firmly that's what my colleagues and partners on the Nepal side want to see. And so I'm just excited to get started.
Talking about Nepal-US relationship, how do you see the current Nepal-US relations? How is it evolving over the years?
It's evolving at a rapid pace and an exciting pace. So we've talked about the Millennium Challenge Corporation and the $500 million US grant that we're putting into Nepal to expand its hydropower capabilities, to expand its transportation sector, to help really lay a strong foundation for its growing economy. We have a $659 million agreement between USAID and Nepal. Part of that will focus on traditional areas where we've worked with Nepal over the years, education, health, agricultural areas, and then on areas that are newer, perhaps climate mitigation, economic growth, entrepreneurship. These are exciting period. This is an exciting period for us to build on the relationship we've had. I mentioned the Peace Corps. We've had over 4,000 Americans come and be Peace Corps volunteers in Nepal. I've met so many Nepalis who say, oh, I'm still in touch with my Peace Corps teacher who lives in, Virginia or Minnesota or New York. And it's great to see those ties continuing and being built on. And then in the financial sector, our U.S. Development Finance Corporation has invested almost $150 million in helping local banks expand their loans to the small and medium-sized business sector, which is the backbone of any growing economy. So, those are the areas that I'm very excited to keep working on, and I think that we have huge potential going forward in.
Talking about U.S. assistance and grant, we cannot forget MCC, a much debated U.S. grant that has been finally ratified by the Parliament and waiting for the implementation.
Right.
How do you see the overall process going?
The process is going very well. We're working very closely with our government partners to lay the foundations for where we need to go over the next few months to get to the construction phase. This is going to be very exciting. MCC is going to bring thousands of jobs during the construction phase as we build these power lines, as we build these new roads. And the projects themselves, once completed, will lead to up to 2,000 or more jobs in perpetuity. And that's just the direct effects. There are secondary and tertiary effects. We know of all the service businesses and other things that will be able to serve people that use these roads, that service these transmission lines, whatever it is like that. So, I'm very bullish about where we're headed with MCC. I think it's an exciting period. You mentioned the fact that it took some time to get there. It is unfortunate that there was so much disinformation and bad information given about that. But all it really served to do at the end of the day, unfortunately, was delay our ability to create these jobs. So now we're there. We're getting ready to put people to work, and we're very excited about it.
Still, there are many confusion, misinformation, and disinformation regarding MCC. Is MCC a part of Indo-Pacific strategy, and do we need consent from India in all big projects? This is the question every Nepali asks.
Look, MCC is an independent U.S. agency that has at its mandate using good investment criteria to foster economic growth. And so Nepal qualified for that completely on its own in competition with many other countries around the world. It's a $500 million US dollar grant that is prepared to build out the infrastructure that Nepal needs to take advantage of its abundant hydropower and to build on its transportation sector. So, on that front, it stands, I would say, somewhat independent from anything else, just as USAID, just as DFC, just as the Peace Corps, right, are their own entities. The Indo-Pacific strategy has also gotten, I think, a lot of bad information about it in Nepal. People have sort of equated it with a military strategy or something more aggressive and more competitive in nature. Not at all. That's not what it is.
What do you think? What went wrong?
Again, I wouldn't speculate on what it is that goes through people's minds. I think that there's been a lot of bad information. I think a lot of people might want to sow discord for various reasons, but I'm not about worrying about that right now. I'm about trying to build and go forward and figure out how it is we can really make the most of the opportunity we have now with MCC, USAID, DFC, Peace Corps, all of these great initiatives we have.
Your Excellency, countries like Nepal face a double-edged sword in geopolitics. The recent incident proved the same, like the MCC. What do you think is the best approach for a country like Nepal to exercise its foreign policy without any pressure?
Well, I can't say that there would never be pressure. I think all countries feel pressure, right? We all want to do the best thing for our nation and hopefully for our regions and even for the globe wherever we can. But what's important, I think, and what the U.S. is looking at is how do we create a situation and help Nepal exercise its sovereignty and create the space that it needs to make decisions that are in the best interest of the Nepali people. We believe firmly that at the end of the day, Nepal making decisions that are in Nepal's interest and that are led by its democratic processes will be in the interests of the region. Certainly, I think they'll be in the interests of the United States, and I think for others as well.
MCC has been always discussed in comparison with the BRI pushed by China. How do you evaluate this and see the Chinese role in MCC ratification?
You know, I think there was some commentary from China about MCC. I'm not sure why they felt compelled to comment about it. It's a pretty simple design. I've talked about it being a large grant. It's a project that is done in consultation with Nepal. In a consultative process with the people of Nepal to decide what it is the country would like to see, how it would like to use the money, how it can best take advantage of the investment so it can grow. And so I think in that sense it serves as a great model that a country like Nepal can use when evaluating any other projects that it may want to undertake. I'm not going to be here to tell Nepal what projects it should or should not be part of. I'm just going to try to continue to work with Nepal in a way that helps them evaluate and gives them a context in which they can get the best deal possible for the country and for the people of Nepal.
Your impression on BRI, how do you see this?
I mean, the Chinese have been using BRI throughout the region and beyond, I think as a means to exercise their influence. And again, I would just note, I would go back to a speech that our Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, gave in May of this year where he talked about U.S. policy on China. And he really reiterated that, you know, American policy is not designed in any way, shape, or form to try to thwart China's rise, to try to change China's system. It's designed to try to look at how we can get to a point where democracy is seen as a preferred means of running a country and doing what's best for the people of that country. So we're very excited about the prospects and about where we're headed. As for BRI, that's for the people of Nepal to determine on their own.
Are there any reservations from the United States if we sign up for BRI?
Again, any reservations we have would simply be on the terms under which Nepal takes on these obligations that it wants to do. I just want to make sure that we're providing the best opportunity possible with our investments for the people of Nepal, and that if we can, provide a model that they can then use when they're looking at other options to determine if it's really in their best interest to take it.
Your Excellency, Nepal is looking for more foreign direct investment for the prosperity and the economic growth. the country is badly hit by COVID. There was earthquake and so many turmoil. So we're looking for foreign direct investment for our economic development. How can United States support Nepal to secure more FDI? Because a lot of nation has pledged, but the amount is not here.
Right,
Actually, the actual amount is not here.
Well, thanks for the question, Sama, because it's an area I'm really quite excited about. And I'm really looking forward to working with Nepal on how it can improve its investment climate and create a business climate that's welcoming for capital to come into the country. You're absolutely right. It's going to be critical for Nepal's economic growth in the coming years. And so I think what needs to happen is Nepal needs to think about what are the regulations it's putting into place? What are the tax structures it's putting into place? Is it competitive with the other countries in the region or just beyond, so that when a company from the United States or any other country decides where are we going to put our investment, where are we going to get the best return for what we're trying to do, Nepal's comes up as a preferred option. And I think there's a lot we can do working with Nepal to build that out. I mentioned our USAID project, which has a lot of that in mind in terms of the work we do with your government and civil society here. So we'll continue to work on those fronts. We've just started an American Chamber of Commerce in Nepal that's growing, and I think will be a great venue for companies that want to come in and learn about doing business in Nepal and what they need to know and how they need to operate here. So we're going to look at expanding those opportunities as much as we possibly can.
As you've just said, attracting foreign direct investment here in Nepal has become an uphill battle. So to attract FDI from US tech companies and others, what are your policies? Can Nepal be the next hub like China, India, Korea and Taiwan, who all got big support from United States?
Well, again,
what is hindering us?
Well, I don't know that there's that much hindering you, other than some of the things I just mentioned that should be looked at relative to those countries that might be competing for that investment. I think Nepal has a great opportunity to use the IT industry as sort of a launching pad or a leapfrog position for its development. We're already seeing U.S. tech companies come into Nepal. We've got companies coming in to set up cybersecurity operations for big companies all over the region. We've got companies coming in to do artificial intelligence work here. I think they're recognizing that Nepal has skills, and the people of Nepal have skills that are beneficial to their investment. So we're going to continue to work and look at what's possible there, because I think there's a lot happening. But I have to emphasize one thing here, and that is, when you talk about pledges of investment and everything, and we lump countries into one category, and you talk about U.S. investment, it's important to note the United States government doesn't direct its companies, right? We don't tell company X or Y, hey, go invest in Nepal.
We can act as a moderator to.
We can certainly act as
an
honest broker, right, to explain what they can look forward to and what the challenges are and what the benefits are. But at the end of the day, they make their own decisions. And so that's why I think what we really like to focus on is how can we be helpful in creating a positive environment, a positive climate to attract that business so that more and more companies come in. And if U.S. companies are coming in, other countries' companies will be interested and want to come in as well. And hopefully we can create sort of a virtuous cycle then of prosperity for Nepal.
Your Excellency, as a citizen of Nepal, as a layman who is so desperate to see a prosperous Nepal, I'm always wondering, instead of just giving money as a grant or financial assistance, can USA help more in technology transfer, bilateral exchange of academics, research, etc.? How do you think, where are we going in this sector?
I think you're onto something really important, and I think it's something we're actually working on and that we do through our Fulbright exchange programs, through one area that's perhaps often overlooked. Nepal has the 12th largest contingent of students in the United States, foreign students studying in the United States. Many of these students study in the US, get advanced degrees, work for a time, and then come back to Nepal with that knowledge and with investment opportunities. And so I think that is a huge area for us to build on in the years ahead. The U.S. Embassy is looking at ways to expand our ties with alumni of these programs so that we can find just those kind of opportunities. And so you're absolutely right. Tech transfer and the almost, let's call it the recycling of brain power back into the country is a very exciting area for us to work on.
Talking about recycling of the brain power of the nation, some people say Nepal's brain drain will continue to increase and developed countries reap our talents. Any suggestion from your side? How can we convert brain drain into brain gain?
Brain gain, right?
Yeah,
great term, and I think it's the absolute right way to look at it. Hey, look, first of all, Nepal has had a lot of people from its population living and working overseas for a long time. So the more it does to create good financial opportunities in the country, jobs and programs like MCC perhaps can be helpful on that front. But that can help attract talent back to the country. Again, I think the students that go to the United States and study or go to other countries and study can be enticed back with opportunities for good investment ideas, internships with good companies, things of that nature. We should be looking at that because I'll tell you what, it is a great benefit to Nepal and a great benefit to the U.S. when we have that kind of relationship where people come and go and come and go and come and go and continue to build relationships people to people, business to business, and government to government. That's how we all thrive.
And also, I'd like to mention here, a lot of people in Nepal complain that the visa fee US $100 is quite expensive, and besides, a lot get rejected. Can that price be adjusted? Isn't that too high for a normal Nepali citizen?
Yeah, look, the price of visas is structured based on what it costs us to run the program. That's set in legislation in the U.S. We always look for ways to try to make it more affordable, to try to lower our costs, but we are required by law to recoup our costs. But what is important to look at is the validity of a U.S. visa, which is 5 years for Nepali citizens. So we try in every case possible to issue multiple entry visas for the full 5-year period. So if you look at that, that becomes sort of more $20 a year, which I think is a much more affordable price point and something where people don't have to keep coming back after 6 months or after a year, especially if they travel multiple times. So we will continue to look for ways to make it a good deal for the people of Nepal. We will continue to look for ways to expedite the process and make it easy for people who have legitimate reasons to travel to get the visas they need.
Any suggestions from your side to all our Nepali students who are planning to study in the United States?
Well, first off, please take advantage of our educational advising services that you can do through our public affairs section at the embassy. If you go to our embassy website, there's lots of great information about that on there. Second, please do work with your university after acceptance to get your paperwork and find an appointment so that you can be ahead of the game in terms of getting in and you're not scrambling at the last minute. But do know that we prioritize student visa appointments and we try to do everything we can to get everybody through so that nobody has to worry about not making it for the first day of class.
Your Excellency, we're almost at the end of the conversation. You recently presented your credential to the President and met a few Nepali political leaders. How do you find the conversations?
I find the conversations excellent. I have been warmly welcomed by everybody that I've talked to. I enjoyed meeting the President, the Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister. I've just had a great opportunity to hear from them about their expectations about the relationship, to share with them much of what I've shared with you and your viewers tonight about what I hope to accomplish and want to do with my tenure here. So I'm really excited to work with the government and all the people of Nepal in this new opportunity I have.
We're all set for a general election. That's quite near. What are your thoughts and messages?
Well, I'm very excited to watch the electoral process here. I am a big fan of democracy. We just had our own midterm elections in the United States. I voted just before I came out, and so I love watching the process. I find it empowering for people to have a chance to select their leaders. And so I'm just very excited for the people of Nepal to have this opportunity, and I'm excited to see who they select to lead them over the next 5 years, and by extension, who they select for us to work with in furthering this great relationship for the next 75 years.
Lastly, Your Excellency, do you have any message to Nepal and Nepali audience who are right now watching us?
I would just say thank you for the warm welcome. I am very excited to meet many of you in the coming months and years. I look forward to building on this relationship, and I just really am very positive about the direction we're headed and what we're going to be able to do together.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It's wonderful talking to you. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your time. Thank you for talking to us. It's wonderful having you here.
Thank you, Sam. I've enjoyed this a lot, and I look forward to doing it again.
I wish you a very, very fruitful tenure ahead.
Thank you.
Looking forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.